project. Being a part of a program that gives you the right framework and support is actually the best way to get anything started in the world. And for us, it was really a life changer, and I'll tell you more about that. So we started Live Love in 2012 in Los Angeles and Beirut. And you might know us through our Instagram account or our Facebook accounts that are called Live Love Beirut, that today have 530,000 followers, and through which we share the beauty of Lebanon and also try to find shared solutions to shared problems through volunteering or creative entrepreneurship or designing solutions to the problems we see around us without waiting necessarily for a government to come in and fix things. We are all about civil society taking concrete actions to help their local communities and the people around them. So what we do at As Live Love is we build platforms and technology to turn our online traction into sustainable actions that help make the environment better or that help people in need. And an example of that is a program that we have called Live Love Volunteer to mobilize citizens to go and volunteer around them for causes that they care about. Live Love Recycle is another application that we created to help resolve the waste management crisis that we are facing in Beirut. And today we have 25,000 households that use our service to recycle. Live Love app that we created for tourism so that we can grow income in the rural parts of Lebanon and actually lead tourists to go and visit the beautiful places that we share on our social media. And Live Love Tours, where we allow local ambassadors in the rural places and villages to sell tour packages, have an income, and welcome people to their villages and show them how beautiful their village is. So everything we do is from social media to social action. We exist to share, celebrate, and help preserve Lebanon's nature and culture. And since the August 4th blast, as Mona mentioned, we actually geared 100% of our efforts for the last 5 months to relieve the crisis and the damage that was caused by this terrible accident and tragedy that happened on August 4th. So we set up a disaster management and response unit at our office, and we felt the weight of having a responsibility to show up. Because we have so many followers on social media, we are able to mobilize people at a very big speed. So whenever anyone needed assistance or help, it took one post from us to get somebody that would show up for this person. So a few days after the blast, even if our offices were destroyed and Eddy, my co-founder, was injured and his entire family was injured, we were able to very quickly set up an operation to gather donations online and to take on rebuilding of houses and to take on first aids and relief efforts to people that needed urgent help. I'll tell you more about this in detail. And this is a photo of Live Love Recycle, our application that not only in Lebanon, in 2015, there was a big waste management problem. There was garbage everywhere, literally. And municipalities and public sectors don't necessarily take on the proper management of waste. So what we decided to create is an application like Uber, where we employ people living below the poverty line, both Lebanese and refugees, to go to people's homes, pick up their sorted waste and distribute it to recycling centers. So our goal here is just to increase awareness around recycling and actually have people recycle very easily with a service that is on demand at their doorstep, shows up within 10-15 minutes, and creates income for over 400 drivers. So I'll tell you the story of how this all started, and it started really, really small. In the summer of 2012, that was another summer of crisis because it was the worst touristic summer since 1946 in Lebanon because of multiple reasons, including the war in Syria, including the ban on tourists that came in from Arab countries and security issues, etc. As you know, Lebanon is always in crisis. So if you want to compare it to COVID, probably the world was not in the pandemic, but Lebanon was in a big crisis. And that's when we started Live Love Beirut out of despair. We always say it really started from a very big pain point. And usually frustration and anger and pain is a great starting point, because that's when you know you have a problem to solve and that will resonate with other people. And it actually started as me living in Los Angeles at the time, because I was studying there. I grew up in Beirut, but at 18 I went to study film and design in California, and Eddy was in Beirut. But you had the two perspectives of two Lebanese people, one that left her country and doesn't necessarily relate to the identity of the country only being an identity of war and crisis and negative news. Um, and feeling kind of helpless about that. And a local, which is Eddy, and so many young Lebanese people identify with his pain points, which were I'm in Lebanon, and how am I going to make things better when everything around me is very negative? So what we did is we wanted to counteract all this negativity, and we started a hashtag called Live Love Beirut, which is the most positive and naive thing that could happen. But we were like, we know it's all dark and scary out there, but let's find things worth living for and let's share them on social media and let's create oxygen for ourselves. We just want to feel good. So we asked locals to share photos of how beautiful the country is, even in times of crisis. And what this created is really a collective feeling of we know everything's bad, but there are still so many things that are beautiful in our country. The nature is outstanding. There is art. Young people love sports. There is a culture of windsurfing. There is a culture of surfing. We went and also we discovered all the subcultures. And 2012 Instagram was not like Instagram today. There wasn't necessarily content that was aggregated around a city like you have it today. So I think we were just at the right time, at the right place. I don't know if I were to start anything new today, I would do it on Instagram because it's quite saturated. But knowing which platform you choose to start something is quite important. So we started to have a database and a library of images that locals shared that documented heritage, that documented history, people's faces, food culture, all the beautiful things. And we also created a bracelet that was sort of our marketing tool and that you could only get by posting a photo. So for a while we didn't sell it. People had to post a photo on Develop Beirut to earn it. And it became this sort of local competition to try and get your hands on the bracelet. And then this is how the brand awareness really grew. So what we first did is actually we created a brand and a positive image of the city. And we created a bracelet that would get people to talk about Beirut. And it got in the hands of celebrities such as Richard Branson, Ed Sheeran, the singer Rupert Grint, or even Gigi Hadid. But our Instagram accounts didn't only limit themselves to Beirut. Very quickly, other small villages in Lebanon decided to start their own Instagram accounts. And now we have over only in Lebanon 250 ambassadors that actually have the live love account of their villages, and we call them the digital mayors of the village. So just like we share Lebanon as a whole, they share the specificity of their region. So we have Live Love Tripoli or Live Love Saida or Live Love Marjayoun or even Live Love Dermime. So it goes from big cities to smaller villages, and they share their villages, and they each have from 4,000 to 25,000 to 30,000 followers. And those created micro communities that actually, when the time comes to talk about problems in those regions, with always an eye towards action, you can actually mobilize people locally. So location and decentralization is actually very, very important when it comes to live love and to building communities the way we do. And it went from being viral in Lebanon and creating all those communities and sub communities to going regional. So young people in Egypt reached out to us and wanted to start a Live Love Egypt account and wanted to start a Live Love Egypt movement. Same happened in Armenia. And today, Live Love Spain is our biggest community in Europe, where we have 70,000, a community of 70,000 people. Live Love Armenia has 45,000 people. Live Love Italy, for example, is at 12,000 people. And they are all run by young volunteers in each country that work in a team of 4 to 6 people that we train on how to create a live love community, how to scale it, how to create local volunteering events, and how to post stories, how to gather followers, etc. So today the love is in 25 countries, 9 years later. It was a very slow and difficult path. I don't want you to think that this is an intimidating success story, because I realized oftentimes when I give presentations, other young people feel intimidated. It started very, very small, and it was very difficult to get it to where it was today. We made many mistakes along the way, but I think what made us keep going is that we didn't give up, and we were a good team. So if Eddy was discouraged, I was here to lift him up, or if I was discouraged, he was here, and then our team grew and grew, and we were able to keep going and not give up. And that's an important message I feel young people need to hear more. Um, and up until today, we were able to sustain our activities through collaborations with the private and the public sector. So Live Love has created partnerships with the public sector, such as the World Food Program, UNESCO, UN Women, USAID, to actually take the ideas that we have and bootstrap them, provide the initial funding to create them. But then we have to create business models that are self-sustainable for each idea that we have. For example, uh, I'll give you an example. Our social media is able to generate revenue because it's a great platform to advertise. We don't do all forms of advertising, but we really pick and choose the clients that we want to work with, and we create branded content that goes hand in hand with our mission. Our Live Love volunteering program is able to sustain itself also through partnering with the private sector. For example, Adidas came to us and they were doing a campaign called Run for the Oceans, where they created those Adidas shoes made of recycled plastics, and they wanted to create an activation where we took people to the beaches to actually clean beaches and do cleanups at the same time in 7 countries around the Arab region. And so this is branded content for Adidas, but they were able to fund cleanups and to actually recycle around 100 ton of plastic in those countries. So I think the future of marketing and advertising lies there, and young people want more and more activism. So everything that we create has a business model behind it. Live Love Recycle is able to fund itself through recurring memberships of the people who use the service. The Live Love Tours, we sell tour packages. The Live Love Studios, we actually sell our services to tell stories and to build social media accounts for others. And then we have our merchandising and our bracelet. And we operate as a social enterprise. So we have 2 parts. We have a nonprofit that is 100% dedicated to giving and rebuilding Beirut at the moment. And we also have a for-profit enterprise that is actually a model for us to keep generating fund and giving away our profits to the NGO, but to also have a sustainable model that doesn't always have to rely on donations and on external funding. Um, so this is our Live Love volunteer program that we created. I think it was maybe 8 months after we opened the Live Love Beirut account. We were all about only posting beautiful pictures until somebody sent us a picture of a very dirty beach. And here we asked ourselves, how are we going to tackle this? So we quickly decided that it was going to be geared towards action. So we posted the photo of the dirty beach and said, who wants to come clean it with us? And we had 168 volunteers sign up within 1 hour. Within 3 hours, they were 300. And the following Saturday, everybody showed up and everybody cleaned up the site. And from that point on, we create about one big volunteering event a month. It goes from underwater cleanups to cleaning beaches to rebuilding schools to cooking meals for people in need. Ever since August 4th, it's all been towards helping Beirut, distributing donations to families that are affected, etc. But I'll tell you more about that. Our tourism program takes the most beautiful photos that we post on our Instagram and actually creates tours around them, and people can go and visit those places, and they can go and shop with local vendors and give their money, so tourists can come in and give their money to local guides and local businesses, and this creates economic prosperity in the rural villages that don't necessarily always get that traffic. And I've already shown you Live Love Recycle, but the cool thing about Live Love Recycle is that it's actually a green recycling service, because all the transportation modes that we use are actually zero emissions. So we have electric bikes and tuk-tuks that go to people's homes and pick up sorted waste and take it to recycling centers. Um, So since August 4th, Lebanon has suffered an enormous amount of destruction that touched all sectors, from the port to housing to hospitals to schools. And what had to happen very quickly is that we didn't want all the nonprofits to each work in their own little corner. And we are co founding partners of the Beirut Relief Coalition, which is actually coordinating the efforts of multiple NGOs on the ground so that there is no duplication of efforts, so that we all know how funds are distributed in a transparent way, so that we all know which house is being fixed by whom, and that we don't overlap on each other's work. And we created one online open map system that lists Beirut and each district that were divided up upon many multiple nonprofits. And based on the requests that we got, we knew who to dispatch it to, etc. So coordinating relief was a very, very important part of what we do. And at Live Love, we actually created multiple units for the relief. We created a call center with Télécom Sans Frontières, which is a French nonprofit that sets up call centers. For example, they set up one in Haiti after the big earthquake, so that you can actually take urgent requests by phone or by WhatsApp or by bot on the internet. And depending on what people need, you're able to dispatch help to them and to track if it has been dispatched or not. Donations started pouring in very quickly from multiple countries. So we had to have warehouses where we store donations and where we distribute them to NGOs that we vet very heavily and that we audit very heavily, etc. And then we created a construction unit that is now 35 engineers who are rebuilding houses every single day. I think they completed around 194 properties, and that there's 153 in the pipeline, if I'm not mistaken. Those are the December numbers. And then we created an internal operation support team. Uh, and I can show you some images. This is our warehouse. We have gotten so many donations from abroad. It goes from diapers to powder milk because, you know, on top of the explosion, there's an economic crisis in Lebanon. Um, People that don't have access to their funds, and there's an inflation of the currency. So it's the purchasing power of everyone has gone way down, and families have trouble even buying basic things such as milk and diaper. And they are also running out of stock because the country is not able to import like it used to be able to. So we were able to stock all sorts of things, from glass to necessary things. And those are some photos of our engineering team in actions. And we went from being an operation of 15 people before August 4th to now having around a team of 40 people in the office who are entirely to rebuild the city and help. And then we created an entire operation backed by Excel sheets at the beginning, but now we actually built software to be able to track the requests. Are they being treated? Are they being treated on time? Are people satisfied, etc., etc. Um, and here you can see some numbers of, we distributed 31,000 bread bags. We distributed 4 tons of flour, 25 tons of rice, baby milk cans, diaper bags, medication boxes, clothing, house appliances, etc., etc. And so this is a bit of a structure of our team and the head of the units that we have. Uh, and I guess that this is it in a nutshell. Is there anything that, I guess, how would I conclude it? I think we have a mission, and our mission is very clear. We want civil society, we want young people to be able to create solutions to the shared problems that they have, no matter how small this problem is. And we use social media and positive storytelling to gather and build audiences online that are very, very wide. And then we use that power that we have to mobilize people towards helping each other or the environment. So this is always our aim, and in everything that we build, in everything that we do or that we design, this is the aim that we try to hit and that we try to replicate everywhere around the world. And it so happens that we live in a country that we'll never run out of problems, sadly, and we're always as responsive as possible with the situation at hand. And we try to use the soft power to mobilize people that we have to solve the most urgent problem and help as many people as possible. Uh, but it started very small, and it took 9 years to take it to where it is. And it started with a small vision, and step by step, it started to build itself. So I guess if you guys are social entrepreneurs and want to build things, go at it a step at a time, and always start with your pain point as the start of your business models, is your mission and your pain point and what you're trying to solve. And from that point on, you will discover that the problems you feel are mostly universal, and then audiences will connect to what you're trying to build, and and you will slowly build it up in time. And the internet is a great resource because for free you can access millions of people. It is so easy to create content these days. Use your words. Writing is everything. And creating a voice for yourself or for your brand is key. So storytelling with a good mission combined, and a lot of patience and a lot of mistakes, I think should get you to a good place to at least prototype anything that you have in mind and see if it sticks or if it doesn't. I hope that's a good conclusion. And I don't know how much time I've been speaking. I can't see the timer, but let me know if there's any questions.
Great, thank you. Thank you, Yumna. I think it was a perfect summary of really your journey and of what Live Love is currently doing. Maybe I will start with one question and then we can take more from the participants who are joining us today. So my question is, I mean, did you find, I mean, before, maybe if we rewind a bit backwards before August 4th, because I know it has changed the whole game basically for a lot of businesses and especially for Live Love Beirut. So if you rewind a little bit backwards, how did COVID really affect your work? And how, like, did you find any new problems that were maybe highlighted by COVID that you might not have thought about before?
Um, I'm actually okay. Let me back up to COVID. So for us, two things changed the game: the October crisis, and then COVID in March. Um, and that we were actually in a very, very difficult position in Lebanon starting the October crisis, because they stopped all the bank transactions. We had many websites, and all our servers, our online expenses couldn't be debited from Lebanon, so we quickly had to switch everything to abroad, and all the business that came in from Lebanon essentially stopped. And then with COVID, it stopped even more because we are based on outdoors and events and tourism and meeting in person and taking people on tours, and all of that stopped. So in March, we found ourselves in a very, very difficult position. But for the first time, we actually had time on our hands to zoom out and almost recollect ourselves and think of what we want to do in the long run. So from March on, when everyone was locked up at home and when we closed up our office, for the first time in years, we had the time to reflect on our business model. What is our vision for the future? We restructured our team. We set up new processes. We set up new trainings for our ambassadors, and we switched everything to online events, online webinars, online conferences. And we discovered that the physical presence is not always necessary. And the online content we created had more traction than ever because essentially being online was the only way people were connecting. So we tried to take advantage of the situation, and actually our online audience grew by quite a lot since the crisis. Um, but it has been difficult. It has been so difficult for us since October, and then with COVID, it was even harder. And then with August 4th, that was the climax of okay, we exploded. What do we do now? Uh, but I guess our we always play on the rebound. Um, and we always play on the okay, that's a problem. How do we flip it on its head? And how do we go on the other side of it or take a detour and find something else to do? I hope that answers your question. We're kind of still navigating all of this, but you know, as since August in Lebanon, saving lives became a priority, so COVID became secondary, um, and we became listed as essential workers because we were building homes and houses and providing food to people. So it didn't affect us as much after August, but now I think it's hitting Lebanon pretty bad, and many people in our office actually have COVID this week. And we are reshuffling to operate remotely except for the essential team of engineers that really have to go on site. I hope this answers your
Yeah,
question.
definitely it does. So Rabia, she has a question saying, like, how were you able to attract brands for spreading your cause and also for sustaining yourself? So you mentioned like several reputable brands. Like,
Yeah,
how did you get to attract them?
two ways. If you've met Eddie, he's a talker and he's a salesman. So have a good salesman on your team, and usually we're very complementary because I'm on the building side, the writing, the storytelling, and he's the talking one. So if you're not a salesperson, get yourself a good sales co-founder. So this is one, and two, build an audience on social media, and that'll get you the brands automatically. Because they're all looking for influencers, even micro influencers, so smaller audiences. So you don't we actually attracted a brand the first time we had 10,000 followers. That was American Eagle Outfitters. That was the first activation we did with them. And the cool thing is, to the advantage of being online, is brands don't have big budgets anymore to pour into TVC's television commercials, and so they want to put it in social media, most of their marketing budgets, and they want to do something meaningful that is different. So you're able to attract the PRs of brands because they follow your account. And if you're always posting interesting content, they're going to reach out to you naturally. So build good content online and have a good salesperson. And I think Eddie and I, before Live Love, both worked in the entertainment world. So we already sort of knew all our friends who worked at the advertising agencies and with the brands, and we did festivals and we did all those things. So um, just keep making things, and you'll be on their radar.
Great. So Anissa is asking you, like, do you have any presence or do you have any activities in some African countries?
No, we don't yet. We have Live Love. We have North Africa. We have Egypt. And I've just been approached by a team in Morocco. But not in Africa. Would love to reach out if you'd like to start it in any African country.
Yeah, so maybe Yumna, if you'd like to share your contact info or anything in the chat, if anybody is interested to create their own Live Love chapter, that would be interesting. So guys,
um excuse me, just I ask you this question because I saw in the last slide I saw a black little boy, and I just asked myself because of maybe there is you just help
Oh, the last
African
photo.
countries.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was something we did. We did a project around water, um, and around providing water to villages that needed it. But it went on for a month, but we didn't actually start a community in an African country yet.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
So guys, the floor is open for more questions. So if you would like to either write your question to Yumna on the chat about anything relevant to Live Love, or about your some advice regarding starting your own social enterprise, or if you want to take her own, input on a problem you're trying to solve. So really, because she is in the social innovation entrepreneurship space, I think she will have a lot of good insights for you to benefit from, and that you can use in building and growing really your own projects and transforming your ideas into more implementable and viable solutions. So do not be shy. Let's make use of the time. All right, so Rabia is also asking you about the steps that should be followed for starting their own Live Love chapter in their own country.
Sorry, give me 1 second. If you want to start Live Love in our country, what steps should you follow? If you want to start Live Love in your country, there's a form on our site that you can fill, or you have my email. You can reach out to me directly, and I can send you that form. And once you sign up, once you fill out the form, we're actually gonna go through a training process with you, where we're gonna tell you exactly what starting a Live Love community entails, from running a social media account or creating local events where you are, or building your team, because Live Love account never relies on one person. And once you go through the training, then you'll have a certification from us that you're a Live Love ambassador, and that you can go ahead and start. But this usually takes some time, and currently we're not unrolling new ambassadors, but we're accepting applications, and probably we'll start unrolling new ambassadors starting March.
All right, so Yumna, in terms of training, the one you're mentioning, so yeah, like this is, I think, very important, because I hear it all the time, especially from the youth. And by the way, all our audience today, they are all university students. So they always have aspirations, especially that they are very much influenced by, social media influencers and this movement. So they always have aspirations to build their own like online brands, whether it's a personal initiative, or a more social entrepreneurship initiative, or just their personal self, basically. Do you have any general tips, guidelines, to share quickly in this session?
Sure. Yes, I think I'm a designer, so I always storyboard or think of how I want things to be before putting them out there. So there's two things you can do. You can be your own brand, so you put yourself and your own image out there, or you can create a brand that is impersonal, like Live Love Beirut. Doesn't necessarily put me or Eddie or anyone behind it up front, unless we really need to. But it's a strong brand, and it's its own strong voice. In both cases, I think you really have to first decide what you have to say and what you have to offer, and what you want to express, and write down everything that comes to your mind, and then you'll be able to get sort of a recurring theme that will be the niche market that you'll tap into when you launch your brand. I think the most successful people that have their online brands, if you look at Greta Thunberg, for example, she has a very strong mission, a very strong purpose, and her brand is very strong because all she cares about is climate change, and everyone who cares about climate change is going to follow her. If you look at someone like Elon Musk, all he cares about is about going to space and green transportation, Tesla and SpaceX. Everyone who's going to follow him knows that they're going to get news about this. So what is your market? What is your niche? What do you have to talk about? Do you want to do a beauty blog? Do you want to talk about technology? Do you want to talk about sustainability? Do you want to talk about health? What do you want to talk about? Do you want to talk about your city? Do you want to be a city guide? So define this, and have it defined really strongly, and then decide, do you want to put yourself forward, for example, posting selfies or doing tutorials, or documenting, talking about something, or creating YouTube videos? Or do you want to be transparent and not appear and create content, or aggregate content from other people, or write and put that out there? So storyboard it, think about it on a, like, what's the big vision, and then create small pieces of content that you want to do. And then my second piece of advice is, the best thing for online channels is discipline. You have to constantly be creating content. You can't create content for a month and then not do anything for three. You have to post every day or a few times a week, and you have to stick to a discipline, because this is what is going to get you traction and make the algorithms publish your posts. And then where you want to be present is very important. I know LinkedIn in a corporate setting is very important, and is now a platform where people read a lot of articles, share a lot of professional corporate news, etc. If you're more of a creative person, maybe you want to be on Vimeo or YouTube or Instagram. So where you want to do it is also something you have to define. And then research, like, find your heroes and put them up there and imitate. All great writers steal, imitate until you create your own voice. But it first happens with knowing who you admire and who you look up to, and wanting to reach their level, and then eventually you will find your own creativity and uniqueness in there. And then have some self-confidence. No one's going to give it to you except yourself, the self-confidence.
That's amazing. I think that's some great advice, Yumna. So thank you. I mean, I'm glad that we had you today, not Eddy, because I'm used to Eddy's, like, as you said, you're very different, very complimentary. So it was really great to see the other half of
The
the
yin and the
story.
yang, the calm one, and the tornado.
Yeah, I definitely. I mean, I understand that because I have actually, like, known Eddy to start with, and I've seen him so many times, and we've had him as a guest speaker several times as well. But it was also great
Yeah, he told me great things
having
about
him.
you.
Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
happy to.
So Ayan, I believe she had a request, or like she wanted to ask the participants for a favor. I hope it's relevant.
Yes, and it's crazy. Thank you so much, Mona, and thank you so much for a beautiful session. It was so inspiring, and the synchronicity, I always struggle with that word, the synchronicity of it all is amazing, because I've been doing for the past 6 months a gender equality brand on Voicing Voices, like the different issues that affect women and identity, and how religion and culture fit into all of that. So it's amazing that I'm at this session. And this morning I wrote a poem on the struggle of identifying with ourselves as women, and how different things around us impact our self-worth and our confidence, which kind of hinders us from progressing forward. I was thinking of doing a video for this poem on how different women identify with their culture. So for me, it'd be more like my hair and my afro, and the different ways I kind of showcase what identity means to me. So I was going to ask the participants, if possible, in light of what you said about social media and, you know, raising awareness, if participants or any women feels okay with sharing a picture or a small video around the poem. And so we can create kind of a video for it. And I can share the poem if that's okay. I don't know how we are for time, just so everyone is aware of the content of it and see if they would want to be part of the video. So that's the favor. And thank you for an amazing session.
My
A
pleasure.
2-minute video, if you don't mind, is a 2-minute poem, if we have that.
Yeah, I think we can have that, and also it would be great maybe if you also paste it in the chat.
Yeah,
so they
I'll put it on the
yeah.
slide. Yeah. Okay.
All right.
So on some days, we are our own worst enemy. We feed ourselves self-doubt and chew away at our self-worth as self-hatred courses through our stunted blood vessels. As intersectional factors deprive us of our nutrients, as women on some days, we are a success, a triumph. As we kiss away our troubles, I speak so delicately to my inner child. I let her know that we're aligning with our purpose, healing from our traumas, and sharing our stories so more of us can be at peace with our shadows. We are the past that shows up in our presence and dictates our behaviors. We are the past that hides our subconscious, the nightmares that keep us awake till late. We are just inferior, right? According to the world, according to what they see a woman being, we are nobody as we walk through these walls of life and social structures. Our identity shredded by patriarchal cultures and those alike as we seek to find who we are in between the lines, when in reality, we are in all ways finding our ways. We are breaking glass ceilings. We are entitled to cry and laugh at the same damn time. We are allowed to feel brave and scared as our thoughts and emotions intertwine. We are, and it is our right. So that's it. So in the parts where I say we are, I was hoping you could just take a picture or a video of you saying we are, or you can just do a picture and kind of, I'll just try to put all that together and put it on social media if you're happy with that. So thank you so much.
That's great, Ayan. I think it's a great initiative, and I would like to tell the males in the room, do not feel left out. At the end of the day, you all also have women surrounding you in your community, so it's all for a good cause. Yumna, do you have any comments or suggestions for Ayan and her initiative?
No, I loved it. I think it's great. I think you should do a video, and you should keep making more of those.
Thank you, thank you.
And I feel that it comes from the heart, so it definitely resonates with me. And put it out there.
Awesome. Yumna, do you have any closing words you would like to say to our participants tonight before we close?
I don't think so, unless anyone still has a question or anything that they would like me to answer, then I'd be happy to. And thank you so much for having me.
Thank you again. I think this was really a great session, and I always like to highlight and showcase the Live Love Beirut story to whether Arabs or non-Arabs, Lebanese or non-Lebanese people, because I think it's a story worth sharing, especially that, as you said, it started really very small and very organically and grew because it was worth the attention and because it resonated with so many people. And it's really great to see how it has scaled and now how it has been able to reach a lot of different countries and create this wonderful community that's all about civic engagement, helping the planet and helping each other. And definitely we are very grateful for all the work you have been doing after the Beirut blast. I mean, every time I watch the news, although I don't really watch the news that often, I see some glimpses of Live Love's work, and we are very proud of it. Thank you again for all your efforts and for being role models for our youth to embark on a similar journey and to be the change makers of this era. Thank you a lot, guys. And I hope we'll keep having more great guest speakers and success stories to share. And I would like to wish you all good luck with your pitches next week. Thank you. Goodbye.
Thank you. Bye.